podcast.
You listen to Kendrick and Matt on the Slip and Dip podcast.
Oh, beautiful, man. What is up, people? Welcome back to the Slip and Dip podcast, episode number 97, coming at you on a Sunday evening as usual. I am Matthew Wells. Alongside me, as always, Kendrick Johnson. We got a fantastic show for you guys today. 3 guests coming your way. 1, Mr. Sodiq Yusuff, UFC featherweight contender. 1 legend of combat sports, and Burt Watson, and UFC welterweight contender Max Payne Griffin as well on the show. We got a loaded lineup today.
New intro, same show. Give it to you.
Slight tweak. We got bigger changes coming after UFC. After episode 100. we got bigger changes coming to the graphics. But yeah, man.
Well, I'll be short and brief on my intro. Saw the most boring fight of all time. The Bartholomew Robert Easter fight. These dudes might as well have been sparring. That was, if there was a fight that needed to be a draw, that was it. That was terrible. Nobody landed more than 10 punches in the round. That's all you need to know about the fight. You don't even have to watch the fight. And then the Hermanson and Jacare, I guess I'm one of the few people that wasn't surprised. The young man, that's why I would say the young man wins. If they fight 3 years ago, this doesn't happen. If you saw the old 39, damn near 40-year-old Jacare fighting a 30-year-old hungry guy who was committed to what he did, and the skills and the youth paid the bills.
Yeah,
props to him for staying with his game plan, though, because mostly we saw 2 technical fights. Hermanson and our guy, friend of the show, who I'm trying to get back on, Corey Sanhagen. When you have a game plan, people, and it works, stay with it. Stay in your lane. You might get that dub, and both of them did.
All right, so I guess I can respond to the first thing before we bounce on 50 different topics. So yeah, I pulled up this fight, this Easter fight, and I wanted to watch the fight because everybody was tweeting about it. Everybody was hyped about it. And I watched 1 round. I was like, nah, I'm going back to UFC. I'm going back to Bellator. Okay, I'm watching more exciting things. I'm bouncing around.
They were slipping and dipping too much.
Yeah, nah, I was done with that. And that seemed to be the case with a lot of people, that they were done with it. So I'm not mad that I didn't miss anything there. I did want to watch it, but hey, apparently I didn't miss much. No. So yeah, now let's hop over to Jacare Hermanson as well. Like you were saying, man, I was very, very impressed with Hermanson's game plan because he stuck to it throughout the entire 5 rounds. Stuck to it, kept the pressure on the guy who was, the favorite coming in. Jacare, he's got the whole crowd behind him. They were chanting "Nous vamos" in Florida. Where do they do that? I know Jack Hermanson's not American, but still.
That's a Brazil.
Yeah, that's a Brazil thing. And they were chanting that down in Florida with all the stars in attendance. All of the champions were in attendance. So before we skip down to and Corey Sanhagen, man, he looked great using his range. One thing what I love to see from taller, lankier fighters like Corey Sanhagen is if they can use their range effectively, and he used it to the T against a guy who literally only has 1 move, and that's I'm going to come charge forward with my chin down and just swing hooks at you.
Right.
And John Lineker was catching him a couple of times, but Corey was able to weather the storm a few times, weathered a few flurries, and just got back to his thing. Circle out, pop, 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 keep you at range, get in and out, keep it moving.
Speaking of the fight, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Did you see how it was split in the media on MMA decisions? People had Lineker winning, and somebody had to win it all 3 rounds.
I don't know what some of these media people are watching. I honestly don't.
We both had it the right way, 29-28. Just going to throw that for the record.
Yeah.
For receipts.
That was pretty clear to me. I don't understand that one. Shout out to Glover Teixeira, man. Whether there's Storm from Cutelaba, Mike Perry, Alex Oliveira was fight of the night. That was a crazy-ass fight. And, Mike Perry looked good. And probably the most impressive thing for me about Mike Perry about that fight was his post-fight interview. He said some very profound statements. And listen, Mike Perry comes off as a crazy dude, but he's really a good dude. He's really a good dude. He's a little crazy, it seems like, but
he's a crazy dude. He's a little crazy though.
He's a good dude.
And props to former UFC flyweight champion, strawweight champion. Excuse me, Carla Esparza. She did what she had to do. She had that beast, the lady coming in from Invicta. And she fought another technical fight. And she said something very interesting in her post-fight. When she fights scared, she gets her ass beat. So she didn't fight scared last night.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that was I mean, yeah, Carla looked really good. Like, I saw the bits and pieces of the fight. I didn't see the whole thing, but the bits and pieces I saw, her catching kicks, charging through takedowns. Like, that's what you expect from Carla Esparza, and she got the job done. So, very good stuff.
And then our guy, because people trying to label him a friend of the show, he's been good to us. Mr. Greg Hardy did what he had to do. Nobody was saying he was going to get that guy up out of there, and he gets the guy up out of there in pretty, I'm going to say record time, but pretty quickly. Oh, why was this guy fighting? Y'all wasn't saying that before the fight, though.
No, they were. I think, anybody that knew that had half a brain knew that Greg Hardy was going to end this fight early. And, he's fighting a guy that they brought back to the UFC just to fight him. So it was really a showcase opportunity for Greg Hardy once again, which I guess is fine for your contenders that you're trying to raise up. That's nothing new in the world of combat sports. You're going to have guys with fights that aren't super impressive. They're showcase fights. That's why they're called that, right? But I think a lot of people were upset the fact that Dimitri really didn't do anything. He threw one counter right that was really nice. He got him with one counter right, but the rest of the time he was on his bike, man, and he was
trying to shoot. He literally had his back against the cage and shot 3/4 away, almost to the other side, and didn't get the takedown. I don't think I've seen that in the octagon.
Yeah, I'll say this about Greg, man. I'll say this about Greg. He did look a little bit more polished. In this time out, and you can't get much out of this type of performance because he wasn't tested. He wasn't tested on anything. It was just he went out there, did his thing, and the knockout was, it wasn't a clean knockout. Like the guy's lights didn't go out, but he hit him one time real hard to the body, and that mouthpiece came flying out. And the ref said, that's enough of that. So, yeah, good on him, Greg Hardy, man. Getting it done. People don't like Greg Hardy, and I understand why, but the man deserves an opportunity to make a living for himself. And I will keep saying this every time to people that don't like him. What other sport would you see the man compete in rather than a fight sport where he can have the potential to get his ass kicked? I'm just saying. People are calling for put him in there against Derek Lewis, put him there against Stipe. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. But hey, I know those fighters would love to get a crack at him. So hey, once the UFC thinks he's ready for that type of level, we'll see him in there against that level of competition. I
see people tweeting at Derek Lewis, can you come beat his ass for us?
Right.
I was like, wow.
Yeah, no, people really want to see him get his ass kicked.
They would want the black on black crime, though. We're not going to say nothing about that.
They really want to see him get his ass kicked. And I was just say this about Greg, man. If you didn't know that little I'm not trying to minimize his past by any means. Don't get me wrong. But if you did not know that piece about him, erase that from your memory if you could for 10 seconds while I go through this. If you look at every other thing that he's done since he's been in the UFC, since he's been on this MMA journey, he's done nothing negative. Everything's been positive. For the most part, he's got a kid now. He's focusing on that side of his life now. He's focusing on becoming a better fighter in this world that is MMA. And if you remove that one piece, again, it's a very significant piece of his character. But if you remove that, everything since then that he's been doing in the UFC world, in the MMA world, there's nothing you can really complain about. So, I'm all about second chances. So, let's give the guy a second chance. If he messes up again, hey, he messes up again, and then that's on him. And then, yeah, everything you say about him then can be justified. But I'm not saying he deserves a restart. I'm not saying that he doesn't. But, let's give him a second chance. See what he does. Again, if there's any sport in the world he would be competing in, I think you would want him to be in a combat sport where he has that potential to have things go very badly for him. But good on him for showing up, getting the job done, and taking care of business. One other thing we'll talk about real quick before we get out of here is Bellator's card. Rory McDonald against John Fitch in the main event ended up in a draw, which means Rory McDonald keeps his belt and continues on into the Grand Prix, which is a little confusing.
Well, how he continue?
Because he's the champion, so he gets to continue on. That's just the rules that they have. I don't understand. It is what it is.
So that was a win-loss.
Right.
Win draw.
Yes, it's a win draw. So since he didn't lose, he gets to continue on, I guess. But the most concerning thing was his post-fight interview when he talked about he doesn't know if he has the drive to hurt people anymore, which is really concerning for a guy that is holding a championship belt. When guys know that they're in there for a title fight, they're going to come and give you everything you got. And if you don't have that ability per se to go in there and want to inflict as much damage as possible on your opponent, it might be time to step away until you get that mentality right to where you can be the best fighter you can be. You know, he definitely still has the physical ability. He's only 29 years old. But if you don't have that mental, a lot of fighters will tell you this game is mental more than anything. So if you're stepping in there with one foot out of the door, I don't know if I can still fight the same way, that can potentially be a very dangerous night for you. So I think the best thing for Bellator to do in this moment is say, hey, Rory, we're going to strip you the belt and we're going to let John Fitch move on. And until you're ready, when you know you're ready to come back and give us that Red King, Rory McDonald, that we know and love, when you're ready for that, we'll put you back in a title fight as soon as you let us know.
That's what in MMA, like we always talk about the district them in boxing, that they ought to do is have like a champion emeritus. Like basically, champion emeritus would be GSP. If he got the gray hair, would have come back and fight at 185, he automatically gets a title shot. Like if Floyd would have come back tomorrow, he's fighting Earl Spence or Keith Thurman for a belt because he's champion emeritus at 147. That's something that they don't do because you have rare instances. It's like they don't do it officially, but they unofficially do it.
Yeah, 100%.
We know GSP come back. He ain't come back to say what's up and fight just to fight.
Yeah. It's one of those things, man. I don't want to see him step back in there and just get hurt just because his heart's not in it or he's mentally not there.
But for UFC 189, we already know what he can do.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So he is definitely a beast, and again, if he's not at 100% mentally, I don't want to see him in there and get hurt. But it was a good fight between him and John Fitch, and a lot of people had that fight split. John Fitch still doing John Fitch things, just takedown after takedown after takedown, not doing much with the takedowns, but that's John Fitch's game, and it's been that way for years and years. Eliminate McFarlane also got the job done as well, keeping her strap looking good. Bellator had a good, fun little card, man. Fun little card, and shout out to them. A lot of stuff went on this weekend in the world of combat sports, man. A lot of stuff. It was hard to keep up with everything. And, of course, I was still trying to keep an eye on the NBA playoffs as well. The Spurs, man. I know we don't talk about basketball that much, but I am still baffled.
You actually watched something that I didn't watch. I'm the basketball guy. I didn't watch that.
I am still baffled by this decision of the Spurs. They literally let 30 seconds run off the clock in a Game 7 in the playoffs, and you're only down by 4 points. Nobody on the court understood the situation. They let a whole 30 seconds run off the clock.
They ain't want to play no more.
Just mind-blowing, man. Like, you don't do that in Little Dribblers. Like, what are you doing on the highest stage in the sport?
My man just show his country this. It's YMCA ball up in the suburbs.
Jeez, man. It was Little Dribblers.
I got a story of Little Dribblers off the air.
Okay. Yeah, man. So that's what it is. Episode 97, Sodiq Yusuff, Max Griffin, Burt, Watson, legends in the game. Yeah, man.
And Max Payne
Fun
Griffin.
episode. I can't wait for it. Can't wait for next week as well. Got a fun lineup we're working on. And, enjoy the show. Please subscribe to us on YouTube. Hit that thumbs up for the like. Hit that bell for the notifications when we drop videos. We're doing some things throughout the week as well. All that stuff. And if you're on iTunes, please leave us a review, 5 stars. Quick little thing you can do to help us grow the visibility or improve the visibility and grow the show. So all that good stuff is much appreciated. And of course, follow us on social medias. All of them are there on the screen for you if you're watching on YouTube, at Mr. M. Wells Art, at Kendrick Johnson, at Slip and Dip Podcast. Till next week, we out.
Please welcome to the Slip and Dip Podcast, making his Slip and Dip debut, UFC featherweight contender. I don't got you as a prospect. I think you're a contender already. Mr. Sodiq Yusuff. Thanks for joining us, man. You're a hard brother to catch.
Much appreciated, man. I try not to be. Sometimes those messages get a little bit crowded, but when I do, I try to reply to everybody I see.
Gotcha. Appreciate you coming on, man. Congrats on your win at UFC Fight Night, Barbosa Gaethje with Shaman Moraes. Do you think, looking back on it, it was good for you to go the full 15? Of course, I know you be getting people up out of there, but in hindsight, you think it's good to get they call that octagon experience?
Yeah, I think that time in is definitely important, because it's going to happen sooner or later. Because I'm kind of preparing to try to fight all five rounds at 5 minutes, and to get in there, especially with a good guy like Shaman, that mat time is super important.
It seems like now that you had a couple weeks to reflect on it and you probably watch tape, what do you think would grade your performance? Yeah, you kind of frustrated with yourself in the moment because like I know you used to get people out of there.
Yeah, I wasn't really that frustrated, you know. The matchup, my coaches wanted me to do a little bit more when it comes to like volume, like they wanted me to throw a little bit more. But matchup for matchup, he's a pretty good guy, you know. I don't hold anything against him, and he hasn't lost to that many people. There's only 3 people on that list, and it's only me to beat and Marlon. So you know, he's a pretty solid dude. And you know, I do get these quick finishes, but most of them, I never plan for these jumps. You know, they just kind of happen.
Yeah, no doubt, man. So you're currently on a 4-fight win streak, man. You know, one of the things we like to ask is that one loss on your record, man. So what did you learn from that moment, and you know, how have you improved since that? I mean, the 4-fight win streak's not easy, especially when 3 of them are, you know, UFC caliber guys.
Yeah, definitely. I took a lot from that loss. You know, most of it was just mental stuff. You know, just learn how to stay in the zone, staying focused, like staying on your task. If you go back and rewatch that fight, you'll see it was kind of going a little bit easy. I started getting a little bit too lax, and the way I got finished, me and my coach, we talked about not playing around in that position. You know, and I started getting into like a little flow state, and a lot of times you don't really want to go in a flow state against somebody that has a trick, and he has a good trick. You know. And I messed up. So now from that fight on, I always focus a lot more on the important parts. You know, like I talk to myself during the fight. I stay on task. I make sure I focus on what I have to get done.
So how hard was that to do, like once you got into those bright lights of the UFC? Because we hear all the time, octagon jitters this. People like, you know, they may try to do too much in their first fight in the octagon. And some guys say that moment's too big for you. So, you know, you made the walk a couple times now. Is it getting easier each time?
Man, I've honestly, I've never had a problem with performing under pressure, man. I've always been a game day kind of guy. Okay. No matter what the situation is, I show up.
Okay, that's dope.
How big a deal is it to get into the title picture, or are you just gonna take what they give you? Because you never called out anybody. Because we're about the philosophy, closed mouths don't get fed in the UFC.
At this point, man, I'm not tripping off of the title stuff. You know, I just got here two fights in. I'm gonna focus on getting off this contract first and trying to get ranked. And hopefully by next year I could get myself a good ranking, and then we're gonna chase after a title. Being this division is pretty stacked. You know, there's a lot of guys in this weight class. Being 2 fights in and calling for a title shot is kind of a far-fetched idea.
Gotcha. And what do you think about the business that is UFC? Like, we always ask fighters about why don't they have a fighters union and stuff with all the craziness. Like, to me, it's crazy that y'all not getting none of this UFC ESPN money. It's kind of like, man, I feel like I'd be getting pimped if I was y'all. I know it has nothing to do with you, but do you think getting a fighters union is something that's advantageous, or just it's not realistic?
Yeah, if you think a poor little kid from Lagos, Nigeria, is over here complaining about the money he's making in the UFC, man. So now I come from very, very humble beginnings, you know. So right now I appreciate a lot of what I'm getting.
Yeah, man. You brought up my next question, man. Representing Nigeria, there seems to be a Nigerian movement going through the UFC.
Insurgents.
Yes, Kamaru Usman, and of course. We got Stylebender with the strap now. I mean, for me, it always seemed like it was just going to be a matter of time before like this sort of thing started to happen. And we're seeing it happen right before our eyes, man. So how does it feel to be a part of that movement?
Man, it's fantastic, man. Like I always said, a rising tide raises all ships, you know. It's just a matter of time. All we really needed was just the tools and the knowledge. Like, we're kind of made for this. I always say, like, Nigerians are built for struggle. And it's not a joke. It's not a coincidence that you kind of see everybody just show up at the same time. And now when the other kids back at home are starting to see these people being represented, they're going to start picking these little stuff up too. Because not all of us could go the path of becoming a lawyer or a doctor, you know, but everybody knows how to throw ones and twos.
Speaking of that, let me ask a question. I like the video what you sparring with your mom. Your mom, she said she was serious about that life.
No, man, she's fully dedicated. You know, she don't miss a day of practice. She shows up when she needs to. She gets her work in, and sometimes I get lucky enough to where our classes match up. I barely see her in the gym, but when our classes match up, I always make sure I take a little video just to record and post it online.
That's hilarious, man. That's hilarious. Yeah, that kind of stuff is really cool to see, man. You know, seeing the family side of things as well. You know, just again, like that whole like movement to me is like so crazy because, like you were saying, like you guys just needed the tools, and we always hear, you know, guys like Francis. He always says like, there's like hundreds of me. You know, same with Stylebender. He's like, there's hundreds of me. Just let these guys get in the gym. And it's like we'll take over this whole thing, you know.
You'll see guys like Francis just walk around on the beach and they haven't done a push up in their life, you know. it's a very general thing you see walking around all in Nigeria.
That's wild.
Get some insight to your, because like of course you're a great athlete, but you also have a very technical approach. That I like. I'm one that like the technical side because a lot of people in UFC like you just watch any fight, even some of these big main events. Why we gonna chase the guy around the cage instead of cutting the cage off? It's like it makes too much sense that it don't make no sense.
Yeah.
And I say, you know, for you to be a young in this game, you're already getting angles on people, and that's only gonna get better as you get more time. What's your mindset with that? Because most people aren't like you, and that's why you're ahead of this game already.
Yeah. I focus a whole lot of my training is based on technique. I downplay it a lot, like in the media. You know, I always talk about.
So I be watching.
Yeah. But you know, a lot of people, it's not fun to talk about that stuff a lot. You know, so like when I talk to like casual fans or you know just talking to like more just like the open media stuff, I talk a lot about the athletic stuff and stuff like that because the technical stuff it is boring. Let's be honest. You know. Like you won't see me posting videos of me doing slow technique drills on 2 hours a day and doing stuff like that. Which I do most of the time in the gym. Like nobody wants to see that kind of stuff, but it goes a long way. And I appreciate that you said that, man. But you know, I keep it fun, man. You're just gonna see me throw these hands and be black explosive.
What do you think about the narrative that people's like, can he really wrestle?
Well, the thing is, a lot of people don't even know like I'm from a jiu-jitsu gym, you know. The thing, but where I live is there's so many boxing prospects that somehow the boxing just blew up a lot faster than my ground game. And from where I'm at, I've never had to use my ground game at all. I train jiu-jitsu more than I do with anything else out of any one of my martial arts. That's the martial art that I do the most. But hey, if it's not broke, don't fix it. You feel me?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that's kind of the crazy thing about this sport in general is like there's so many different aspects, and especially like if you know a guy has a path to victory, especially like early on in the career, we don't always get to see all the tools. So you know that was one of the things Stylebender was talking about recently. He's like, I got game off my back, like I just never had to show it. You know, I hate to keep going back to him, but like he's an example of that. And it seems like people like to build these narratives where it's like, oh, just because he hasn't pulled it out means he doesn't have it.
Yeah. It's hard to make people believers, you know, and like it's just human nature. Human beings are naturally skeptic, so I don't blame anybody for. I don't call it hating. I don't call it anything like that. You know, sometimes you gotta see before you believe, and I'm always open. Whenever you're ready to get on the bandwagon, I'm fully accepting.
That's dope.
How is fighting on ESPN expanding your profile? You get noticed more and all that? Is it making a big difference? Is this like you kind of at the very beginning of all this stuff?
Yeah, that was super cool. I remember when I came back, I got back over here to Maryland, and I was walking on the street, and they was like, "Hey, you fought yesterday?" And like that was the first time like people from around here recognized me on the street. Most of the time, like when the only time I really get recognized like that is when I'm around MMA communities. You know, like maybe I'm near a boxing event or something, or I'm like somewhere near gyms and stuff like that. People recognize me, but it was that was my first time just being recognized randomly off the street. And it's because, man, ESPN is such a huge platform. It's going to bring in the other crowd that aren't necessarily MMA fans or boxing fans and stuff like that. It's going to bring in the person that maybe they wanted to watch football highlights and they're like, oh, they're doing that UFC shit. Like, and they see you on stuff like that, you know. So it's super cool, man. I'm hoping that most of my fights from here are going to be on ESPN.
This is still trip you out that people call, hey, do you do UFC?
I'm from PG County, Maryland, man. So, you know, they ain't gonna be breaking down NCAA college highlights over here, man. They just gonna know that UFC guy. He do that UFC shit. even when I go to boxing gyms and stuff like that, like, oh yeah, that's that UFC guy. That was before I was even in the UFC. I was like amateur doing MMA on the local circuit. They were like, oh yeah, that's that UFC shit. That's what he do over there. So that's all they know. Just same thing with jiu-jitsu. They're like, oh, he wrestling. Like, he wrestling, you know? So
that's hilarious.
But the sport is starting to grow a whole lot more around here, you know, and especially because the people that follow my career, for sure, they started watching UFC just because of me.
Yeah, no doubt. It's funny because, you know, the way you just broke that down, it reminded me of when we had Kevin Lee on the show. He was talking about how, you know, when he goes to like Mayweather's gym or whatever, he tells like the boxers, oh, somebody lied to y'all that y'all are real fighters.
But you gotta, he got a lot of heart saying that, man, because a lot of times this boxing gym, man, I try to be as humble as possible, but we all know the truth, man. You know, boxing is like it's sport, you know, like it ain't real fighting. But you can't tell them that, you know. You'd be surprised. I trained with a bunch of like kids and teenagers too, and they would swear up and down they would beat my ass, boy. But and move along because, you know, they've been boxing their whole life. Some of them are national champions, and like they've been doing this Golden Gloves champion. They've been doing this their whole life. But it's the same way when you walk into wrestling is a little bit different because they understand the sport a little bit more. But going into like a specific martial arts gym, they all always feel like that, man. You know, because they feel like their martial arts is what real fighting is. But MMA is what true fighting is. That's the closest form to me and you walk into a room and we'll see who comes out as it is. I'm not gonna box you with me and you trying to fight to the death, my friend. You know, right. I'm just gonna sit there and be like, oh, sorry, man. Let's break. You know.
How much has Coach Lloyd Irvin had an impact on you personally and in your career? Because we've had James Irvin on a couple of times and he's talked about that.
Yeah. Well, I was in
James Vick.
James Vick, my bad.
Yeah. That's when they fuse together. When they do the Dragon Ball Z fusion dance, they turn to.
I know he talking about my co-host language. He all about that.
We're gonna get in all this in a second. Don't worry.
I was in school just being miserable for a little bit, you know, and he's one that gave me the call and gave me the opportunity to train full time, man. Like everything I've gotten in my career, I wouldn't be here without him. You know, he opened up the path for me, and I put my shoes on and went running through that jump.
That's hilarious. Yeah, that's cool, man. I mean, since we kind of touched on it there, I mean, it seems like you're a big gamer. Am I right in that?
Nah, not games. Honestly, I game a little bit, but it's more just like anime stuff, like and like geek culture. Like I watch a lot of like anime and stuff like that. And honestly, like, especially when I was little, like those other stuff was like my inspiration until I found MMA. I used to look up to most of the characters I saw on TV, and I'm like, man, I want to be like that guy when I grow up.
Yeah, man, I feel you on that for sure. Like Dragon Ball Z was like a huge part of my my growing up, like through middle school and stuff like that. And like I even like my friend like was importing episodes like before they dubbed them, so we were like reading subtitles and stuff. It was crazy, but that's how we used to get down,
Man, I'm still on that wave right now. A lot of people, they see my name, they'll be like, "Oh man, you're from Superman." They don't know the Super Sodiq Yusuff is a Super Saiyan, and like the initials are like SSY for Super Sodiq Yusuff, and that also fits with the Super Saiyan. But in the Japanese, they go SSJ. But when they first released it here, it used to be SSY too.
Oh yeah, man.
y'all talking another language to me. I just know a serious. I learned in college.
Real quick.
I learned in college.
I'm trying to put him on, man. I'm trying to put him on. He's.
I'm college. Like when I was in college, Dragon Ball Z was a thing, and we had grown ass dudes watching cartoons like this. We trying to go to the club, like Herb, what's up, man? What's up? Like, damn, this can't be watching the show like horror. Like, we 10 years old. We in our 20s. We like 19, 20 years old in college. This was like this.
You don't know what you're missing, man. Now the shift. Like people watching like Endgame and Game of Thrones and all that stuff. I was like, all this stuff is the same thing. This is the same stuff the nerds been on for a minute. Y'all just now catching up.
Exactly. So speaking of it, man, Game of Thrones tonight episode's about to come on here in just a few minutes as we're recording this. What are you expecting for this episode? What are you expecting?
Hey, this episode's gonna be wild, man. Let me know how much more time y'all got. But I can't wait. There's a few people that I know for sure they're gonna get the axe because yes, last episode was just too good. Brienne, like, man, when she got knighted, I was like, dang, dog, that don't touch me. But it was too good. Like, now she got died. like, you was too happy in that last episode. The black dude that was talking about moving away, you know you did. Like, that's like horror movie rule number one. If you start talking about what you're going to do after the movie's over, you're going to die for sure. So they talked about the Chris being safe. They said that jump like 20 times, so you know it ain't safe. Like,
yes. Big
facts. I can't hear, boy.
It's going to be.
Yeah, I can't wait, man. I kind of wanted to tell Kendra, hey, let's cancel the podcast this week so I could just get myself in the mood and get ready. But, I got HBO Go, so I'm going to watch it all after we get done,
we know we see your personality side that people don't see. Would you have a dance off like them fools last night? What'd you think about that craziness last night?
Hey, man, whatever you got to do to get yourself in that mind state, man. Some people like that. They like being chill. Mike Perry's like a little crazy little chill guy. And little cowboy, he's nice and flow. When I'm in there, I'm kind of like zoned in, it's hard to explain. But y'all can see when I watch my fight, you see my faces. I'm just locked in trying to do my job. Once the fight is over, then I'm chill again,
Yeah, when we had Kevin Lee on, he talked about, like, we had just saw him, and he was like bucket to T Grizzly. They couldn't even put the grease on him. He was like, he was in the club, and he tripped me out. He's like, yeah, I've calmed down since I've gotten older. I'm like, damn, how did you used to be?
Yeah, you can't be in fight mode all the time, man. It would be exhausting, Like, even sometimes when I watch my fight, like, or I start watching fighting on TV, I start getting into that mode. And like when I'm with other people, it take like a little bit of them to start talking to me when I'm like, okay, all right, man, you're not fighting, relax. It's exhausting to live like that. But that's just what fighting is, man. That you gotta put yourself in that type of mindset to be able to punch somebody else in the face in your underwear in front of thousands of people.
Your underwear. Yeah. That's funny, but my kid's like, he was watching, he's 5, he's like, why are they fighting in their underwear? He said that last week. It was on y'all cards. It was a fight after your fight, in fact.
I've heard it all, man. You hear all the ignorant stuff. Like before you really get into the sport, you just hear a bunch of craziness. So I know all the jokes.
Right. People don't realize like how like restricting like clothing is though when you're trying to do martial arts. Like
that's why I always wear the tights. Sometimes I wear like the only time I wear shorts is if it's like the little cutoff jumps. And I got them little horse legs too, so I got to show it off. I can't be like that from the world.
Give some insight. So what happens when y'all get there on fight week on Monday and they be like, we see like go embedded when they like y'all like a tailor and all that? How's that process go for people that don't know how that go?
Well, when you first get there, the first thing they usually do is check your weight. So like they just to have a relative idea of if you're gonna have a hard time or not. If they see like if you're wilding on the scale, they're probably gonna keep a close eye on you and keep like the doctors around you. And after that, you go check into the hotel and you do the media obligations. That's the stuff you guys see on TV when you were signing the posters. And that usually takes about like 2-3 hours. They give you like the first interview to say, hey, what's up and all that stuff. And then from the rest of the week, you're just doing interviews and stuff like that until weigh-in day.
Gotcha. And when you get that call, you're going to come back on, right? We got 2 rules. We hit you before, and when you get that head race, because our motto is when you ball, you get the call.
Yeah, nah, for sure, man. Like I saw y'all message a little bit too late, man. Like sometimes I don't. Most of that stuff is crowded with my people, just like, hey, Nigeria for life. So one at a time, it's hard to tell like who's actually like calling for like interviews and stuff like that. I never got a problem with talking to people, If I ever get too big to where I don't want to talk to y'all no more, then y'all know I'm on a different zone. I might start wearing sunglasses indoors or something. But
that's what them boxers do. Like I'm going to Vegas for Canelo joint. I'm leaving in the morning, and that's how them cats are.
Yeah. People try to act like they're bigger than what they are, but I understand that too. You fake it till you make it.
Right? Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm excited to see you get back in there, man. Like you're a fun dude to watch, man, and you got a great personality as well. I think it's like you said earlier, man. Being on ESPN is a great platform to grow that celebrity for you as well. Get you in some acting roles and some stuff too, man. Would you be up for that kind of stuff too?
And you already know, man. You can't keep all this personality contained here in Maryland. One day you might catch me on an acting role, or maybe even dubbing one of these little animes I've been watching my whole life. I might become like a voice actor or something. That would be cool as hell.
There you go, man.
My man got played. He said Maryland ain't gonna hold him back.
Not at all. Not at all.
Absolutely, man. Well, thanks for coming on the show, brother. We appreciate the time. As always, we'll let you get to Game of Thrones. I'm excited to see how this episode plays out. I might, have to shed a tear or two. You don't know how it's gonna go. I mean, I almost teared up watching it Endgame the other night. So, I mean, hey,
that movie was legit, man. I don't see any superhero movie being able to top that. Like at least like the battle scene, I don't see nothing being able to top that at this point. Like I don't see nothing being bigger than that.
I think I need to hang out for a weekend,
bro.
You just out the loop, man. This the you ever see like when the superheroes do the little fist bump and they unite? That's what happens when all nerds see each other, man. They just connect.
Exactly. It's a whole culture, man. It's a whole culture. Just gotta dive in, Kendrick. That's all you gotta do. Just dive in. It's okay. The waters are fine. There's no rocks under these waters. It's all good. Yeah, man. Well, Sodiq, man, thanks for the time, brother. We'll let you go. And is there anybody you want to shout out, any sponsors or anything like that, man? Go ahead.
Right now, just follow me on all my social medias. Everything is still Super Sodiq. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, everything is all Super Sodiq. And right now, I'm still waiting to get that call, man. Hopefully, I can get on that John Jones card. But if I can't, I'll keep you all posted on there. Thank y'all for having me.
Please welcome back to the Slip and Dip podcast. Fresh off his victory at UFC 236, UFC welterweight contender, coming to us from the streets of Sacramento, Mr. Max Payne Griffin.
Yo, we out here. We live out here, yo.
Live in the streets of Sacramento.
Hey. What's good, man? I barely celebrate, but my people will talk me into it. So we're having a little barbecue. We got a lot of folks over here. It's a blessing, you got to appreciate all of it. So we're getting live right now. And, we're already back at the gym, though, I'm already been back getting at it. So it's good times, yo.
How big a deal was it to get your hand raised after the controversy against Thiago down there in Brazil and come back basically 2 months later and get another check, get your hand raised?
Yeah, it was two fights in 3 months. It was like 10 weeks or something like that. And I wanted to get back in there. I know originally I talked to Mick Maynard and everyone after that night, everyone felt bad. They're like, oh no, you lost that? Wow. Everyone was upset. But even that night I talked to Mick Maynard and them. They said, yeah, we had you win that fight, But to get the W, it feels good. I got that momentum. I got the momentum I need. And July 13th, Sacramento, they're coming.
Okay.
Going pump. Sacramento, July 13th. So I'm going to try to get on that card for sure.
How big a deal would that be for you to fight in your backyard? And do you think you have less drama leading up to the fight? Give us some insight to that drama you had leading up to the fight with your opment. We heard about all the behind-the-scenes stuff.
Dude was saying all this stuff the whole time. He was came with me at the restaurant saying all this stuff. Honestly, I'm on a punk dog, and I was just about getting paid. If we're gonna fight tomorrow for this amount, and then for whatever 50 bands, and then you want to tell me you want to fight and get suspended for zero money, like, yeah, we can't do business, my brother. So, the harder part of the fight was trying to not fight him and get suspended. Honestly,
I got you, man. Did it make it like I guess like kind of better for you in a way because you had that 2-fight losing streak and you're like, oh, I get to go in there against a dude I really don't like, and that's really gonna get me turned up to go out there and do what I got.
Yeah,
to do.
But I don't look at my last fight like a loss. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. But just on the record side, exactly.
But mentally for me, like I beat Thiago with my last fight, and then but just even for him in general to be acting like that. You know what I mean? They come at me in the restaurant. My family they just walked off, and he ran up on me. Oh, you talking shit? Oh, you talking shit? Yeah. Saying this shit. But listen, he let his people catch up with him and grab him. You know what I mean? And then he did that whole, hold me back, that kind of shit. Like, if I run up on you, you're getting caught up. You know what I'm saying? So he waited. He came up and waited for his people to come up on me. Oh, you talking shit. And then he waited. Once his people grabbed me to do this little orchestration. That's real shit.
That's crazy. That's crazy, man. Because I've seen you at a couple of fight weeks, and I don't get, like, why somebody would want to run up on you like that. I don't understand.
He said, you talking shit, you know? He's mad because I said that he's a bad training partner, and he is. And then all the shit that I said he did, for him to be on fight week doing this shit, how dumb is he looking? You know what I mean? In front of Dean, they all knew. Once he ran up on me, the police came, UFC security came, and they said, he's not gonna do shit else. 3 hours later, we're waiting on the, what is that? We're waiting to go to the ceremonial weigh-ins. We're in the back room. He walks up on me, walks by my table, has a fucking water in his hand. He walks up and fucking flinches it at me. It opens up, gets on, like, some people next to me. We stand up, like, it's on fate now. Like, you know what I mean? And that was it. Dean seen him. All UFC seen him. Like, he's a fucking idiot. What is wrong with this guy? And I told them, so if you guys know, when you go to weigh-ins, you're front to back. Like, you're front to back with your opponent. Like, you're a foot away from your opponent, yo. You're lined up like kids at, like, a elementary school playground or something. And I told them, I said, hey, I can't stand by him. It's on. He came at me twice. He's going to get fucked up. So Dean, everybody hit security up. He got escorted off the bus first. He was in a separate room because I couldn't stand by him. You know what I mean? 2 times you run up on me. Sorry, buddy. And they kept us separated. We went to the weigh-ins. He's all pushing on Dana. You know what I mean? Before that, I had the security right here. I had Reed right here. No, really. No, I swear to God, dog. They had the whole security force right here. So he wouldn't do no dumb shit. Cause I've known them for years. They're my people. For him to act like he's gonna do all this shit, like, fucking clown, dog. Straight up. But he's all pushing on Dana's arm and shit. I'm standing there on the wing. It's like, why are you pushing on Dana though? You know what I mean?
That's crazy. That would be the last person you would want to put your hands on, I would think.
He's a fucking idiot, dog.
Wow.
Idiot.
That's crazy. But I mean, I guess it must feel extra good. Like, was that the most satisfying win of your career?
Every next win is your best win, right?
Yeah, sure.
I needed this motherfucker, man. They really like this guy, though. That's the thing. They really liked him. He goes to the PI. He works with Duncan. Duncan's in charge there. He's his coach used to train Alistair Overeem. A lot of these really good guys. So they're, he's the best guy you ever fought. All this bullshit. Fuck him. You know what I mean? He's only fought eight clowns, I fought so many good guys. I fought Chidi Nokajawani. I fought some good fucking caliber guys. And people were telling me, this Russian's, man, he's the best you ever fucking fought. Fuck that Russian dude. Straight up.
Yeah, man.
I fought some good guys. Those Santos. Don't disrespect me saying that he's the best guy I fought, because this Russian was not the best guy I fought. I fought probably about 10 fucking guys that are fucking better than him. Flat out.
Yeah, I mean, hell, your UFC debut was against
Perry, Colby Covington, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, all these guys, man. Mike Perry would smash that dude,
So one thing I think, is kind of like flying under the radar, we hear all this talk about, like, social media accounts getting a lot of love, like Black Beast's Instagram. Everybody's like, man, I think people need to show your Instagram a little bit more love, man. Your page is hilarious, bro.
Yeah, man, I'm trying to get out there. I know I talked to Joe Rogan about getting up on there. But yeah, no, soon it's coming, dog. I'll be talking to ESPN people, the UFC people, but they're really impressed with my last fight, and they really want to get after me doing these guest appearances. these guest fighter things, like flying me out, pay for my hotel, all that shit. Go out, be recognized. You know what I mean? I'm getting into some movie shit coming up, little shit, little, you know what I'm saying? Little stuff, little roles. But yeah, right now is a good time, man. I'm trying to fucking ride this wave, brother. I'm trying to ride this shit. No, really though. Right now, like who I'm meeting and what's happening, my business propositions and all this shit is fucking cracking right now.
Hey, so, climb that ladder. You ain't gonna forget about the
blessing, man. No, Sacramento, man. Listen, and also July 13th, UFC Sacramento. I'm telling you. I'm trying to get on that card. So if you hear anything about it, say, hey, we need to get Max Payne on that card. It's my hometown, and we will rock this shit. And I'm doing my renegotiation on Monday, and I want to fight in Sacramento, July 13th, UFC Sacramento. There's only 2 confirmed fights, and I actually asked to be on UFC Atlanta, and they gave me UFC Atlanta. So we're 1 for 1 on me asking. And they gave me Tiago and asked for him too. So I feel like we can make this shit happen. You know what I mean?
But regardless of when you fight, shit. How big a deal is if you fight like 4 to 5 times this year since you already got 2 down?
I already fought 2 down. I'm trying to get it in, bro.
I see.
I'm trying to get it in. No, listen. If I'm healthy, fight. You know what I mean? Like this is a good year, baby. It's a good year already. But yeah, we're trying to negotiate and get paid, man. I'm ready to smash whoever, man. I showed some wrestling, so I can work a lot, work that in. A lot more feints, a lot of feints to this and that, and think I'm gonna shoot. I had like 7, 8 takedowns. I only took 2 away from me because he got up, but those were takedowns. That's what 8 for 9. Doubt me, bruh. Doubt me. I swear. No, but I could use that, you know what I mean, for more feints and overhands and different shit, man. Yeah, I'm excited, bro. I'm already back. They're picking up a car over here. They're picking up a car over here.
Oh, you gotta get that on camera then. Let me see.
Hey, pick up the car again. Pick up the car again. They're picking up this car.
I'm not getting on it. I
That's a first. Bro. We have never had a car.
They picked up a car on a fucking interview.
Yeah,
you see that shit?
That's the first.
Whose car is that?
I've never seen that happen before. That's crazy. Why were they picking it up? Was it like on the curb or something?
They fucking moved the motherfucker. I don't know whose car it is, but it's not my car. Oh fuck.
Y'all are wilding over there, boy.
For real. Before we let you go, Max, does being like having I know you're not the guy to brag enough, but having a celebration off your win, does this motivate you to get another win and do it again in a couple months?
Yeah, it's time, man. Normally, what I've seen too is you barely get on UFC pay-per-views. Barely. I was on 202, and I was on the one with Stipe, and they lost to Curtis Kirsten. But they barely put you on those cards, and when you win those cards, they bump you. It's kind of like a thing where, like, I fought Colby Covington the first time I fought on pay-per-view. Bam. Found Curtis. After that, he beat me. He fucking fought a co-main event or whatever. You know what I mean? So I feel like after this fight, I won my pay-per-view fight. ESPN, the lady came and talked to me. She's like, "Oh my God, your interview, everything, we fucking love you. It's I do, UFC combat, ESPN combat. We do boxing, MMA, and interview, everything you did. We just loved it. So, it's we like it. So okay, she was cool, man. Her name was like Annie or something, this blonde chick. But hey man, I'm trying to get on. I'm trying to be put on, and this fighting shit isn't forever. So while I'm in this, getting these views and getting these likes and getting these people following me, I want to add on to my people and make it all happen, man. It's good times right now. All this investing shit's coming up, and all these opportunities. It's a fucking blessing, you guys.
100%.
Excited.
Appreciate you coming on, man. We thought you were too turned up for us. you keep balling, we'll keep calling. Please welcome to the Slip and Dip podcast. Somebody we've been trying to get on the show since we started the podcast. Finally, episode 97. The legend, the man, Mr. Burt Watson, the babysitter of the stars. Now he just a legend in this game that we call combat sports. I'm not going to limit it to MMA. Thank you for coming on, and we greatly are excited and appreciate your time.
Oh, man, it's absolutely my pleasure. You know, and especially to hear now, what did you just say, 97?
97, we counting out to 100, brother.
Woo! Well, that's good. My compliments to you on the other 96, and it's absolutely my pleasure. But just so you know, okay, it is way past my bedtime. Okay, I tell everybody I'm not a 9 to 5er, but I am a 5 to 9, baby.
Okay.
So, but you know what? I'm happy. I'm happy to be with you guys, and you guys have been chasing me for a little bit, but you know I've been in it. I've been in it and been pretty busy. I've been running a little bit, just trying to get some things done, and you know I've also aside from MMA, I also do I still do a little boxing. You know,
hey, I'm leaving for the Canelo fight on Tuesday, so I already know. I'll be out there on the scene Tuesday morning to next Sunday in Vegas.
Well, I do some work for Triple G and his folks, and Tom Loeffler and his folks, and they've got something coming. And you know, when these guys do, you know, at that level of a Triple G, Canelo, and Mayweather, when they have these guys on their cards, usually they're guys that, because now everybody promotes and manages their fighters. You know, that's something Bernard Hopkins started. But when they do that, when they're not fighting, because at that level, these guys fight maybe once a year and a half. And when they're not, they got to keep those guys busy. So they do shows in between, and they call me in, and I go in, and, you know, up in California, up in the Hollywood area, I go in every now and then, and I'll do a couple of shows up there. And then I come on back to MMA, and you know, so I've been on the road and been a little busy.
Gotcha. Pops to you. That's why you're a trailblazer. When people associate you with being a trailblazer, a legend, I know you didn't get into sport for all that. How does that make you feel? Because I know it's two African Americans that cover a sport that's MMA, where there's not many minorities. It's a big deal to see somebody like you not just doing your thing, but doing it at an all-time level and leaving a mark. Like, you hadn't did a UFC show in 3 years, and your name come up almost every time I cover a fight week.
Well, it's actually been 4 years,
Yeah,
and you know, I'm very proud of that. But you know, it's like footsteps in the snow. You don't realize that you laid them until you try to backtrack and look around and make the same step, and you can't. And it was just, I went from boxing and I transitioned into the sport of MMA, and I've seen the development of this sport. You know, I got into the sport in 2000, and I've seen the development of the sport. I've seen how it grew, how it grew through the years, and working with Dana and Lorenzo and the Star. I saw that this sport had legs. I saw that what they were doing had legs. You know, when you're building something that it had legs, and I saw how the development of it, and quite frankly, as you said, I didn't see a lot of African Americans in the sport. And you know, it's sports, and it's a particular sport. It's like you see those that drift towards basketball or football. I know that MMA, you know, it started with grappling, and then everybody had to learn how to fight. Before, they were fighting like this, you know. And I can say that because I know that. You know, they went from this to, you know, the development. They got technical skills, and they learned how. And I saw the development, and I saw guys coming in, and you know, I remember when I think the Ultimate Fighter, first guy I saw came in with an impact was I think Rashad Evans, you know, and then it kind of went on from there. But man, the development of this sport, and it's only been 19 years and it's still growing, man. It is still moving along at a rapid pace.
That's big facts, man. Big facts. And speaking of moving along at a rapid pace and still growing, I've heard through the grapevine that somebody on the other side of this Skype call right now is starting their own promotion. So
Yes, sir.
Talk to us a little bit about how that all came together and why you decided to go with the Burt Watson Promotions MMA Live.
Well, yeah, you were real. Yeah, real.
Yeah.
Well,
We rolling over here.
I like that. Well, I've always been the person to pull the plow. I've always been the coordinator, the person that kind of put everything together. And when I started with the UFC, the one thing that they allowed me to do, I met Dana at it was either Oscar De La Hoya and Arturo Gatti or one of those fights. I met him, and he was in the middle of starting something. And he came along and he said, I'm starting this organization, and I need a guy. And they told me, you're the guy that I need to talk to, and I want you to come in and do what you do best. And that was the last time he ever asked me or told me what to do. He let me come in. I came in, and I created the situation just as I did in boxing. I created how we operated. I created how the fighters came in, how we met them, how we coordinated the dressing rooms, and how we put things together. And it was always, I learned through some of the promoters in boxing, man, because there's some rough ones in boxing back in the day.
You were the Don Kings and the young Bob Arum.
And the Butch Lewis, and all of them. But I learned then, and I made a vow then, because fighters at that time fought because they loved the sport, they wanted to, they needed the money, and they got the money any way they could. I saw guys sleep in cars overnight because they didn't have a hotel room. Just things like that I said, you know what? I'm going to create a situation that gives everybody that walks into this door a comfort level. I'm going to let them know that they're not here just to... Is this family talk radio that we're on now? Or can I say what I want?
You say what you want.
Say what you want.
We 100% raw and uncut here.
Yeah, okay. I needed them to know that they didn't come there just to get an ass whooping and have to go home. I wanted them to know that somebody cared about them. So I created that situation, and it caught on. And as time went along and we went on from doing shows here in the United States, and I trained people in Brazil, I trained people in London, in the UK, in Asia, Germany, Switzerland, Sweden. It just went on and on and on and on. And bear with me now because I'm building up to a point. But in that training and in that teaching as we went along, it's been my career. And people are still using the same system, man, and it works. And people that learn are still doing the same system. So as I went along and I left the UFC, I stayed in combat sports. I stayed in MMA, but I was working kind of on a regional level with different promotions. And, guys wanted to get into certain hotels and wanted to do certain things. And, because I was there and because I was out front, sometimes they got that opportunity. And it went on like that and went on. And you know what? I've been doing this now for about 35 years or better, and I'm not a real young man, but it got to a point where, life gives you a deck of cards that you have no idea what you're pulling off the top. You just got to play with that deck and keep dealing until you get something. So it went on like that, and finally, there was time for another chapter in my life. And I don't know what happened or how the switch came on, but one of the hotels called me and we were talking, and they said, listen, we got this date, such and such coming up, and we know you guys wanted it. Well, I was with a company that is no longer. That was Alliance MMA. Mm-hmm. And they had the date. And they said, we got this date. What do you want to do with it? Clicked. Said, you know what? I'm gonna keep that date, but I'm gonna put my name on it this time.
Okay.
That's just how it happened, you know, because the transition from what I did to boxing has not taken me out of my comfort level. You know, I'm still very comfortable. I'm still very active, and it's still what I do. The only thing I got now is Burt Watson Promotion. We rolling MMA live all night long.
I love it.
And you know, so yes, I decided to keep the date and just do the show. And I did shows out in South Florida. And I'm telling you, man, South Florida has got a plethora of MMA fighters out there. You know, American Top Team, Wagner Rocha, you got Fit, you got Black Zillions, you got a ton of guys out there. Right now, you got maybe 3 or 4 current champions that live in that area with Usman and Dustin Poirier. And,
you all had to fight last night.
So, you know, it was an opportunity for me to just keep a date. I didn't want to give it to anybody else. I wanted to keep it and work it. And I said, you know what? I'm going to put my name on it. So I started Burt Watson Promotions.
Beautiful.
And I'm just rolling along, and I'm just keep going. And it's Saturday, June 15th at the Hard Rock Event Center, Seminole Hard Rock in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, baby. The day before Father's Day.
do you plan on rolling to Texas so we can come holler at you in person?
Well, here's you know, my idea is I'm not looking to compete with other promoters. I'm not looking to compete with anybody because I know my lane. I know how to stay in my lane. I know how to drive you out of my lane. And you know what? And that's not competing with you know? So I'm looking to give entertainment and a platform for fighters to get on. And when you provide the entertainment of the sport and a platform for regional fighters to get on and keep themselves busy and stay consistent, you know, that's what I want to do. Whether it's in Fort Lauderdale or where are you? You said Texas?
Texas, yeah. We're in Dallas.
Texas, New York, New Jersey, you know, right now. And I'm just saying that I'm looking to give entertainment. I know how to do that. I know how to coordinate events. You know, I know how to pull a plow across the country. Now, you know, and it's been rough. It's, oh boy. Yeah, I've been getting it a little bit, but you know what? I'm still not out of my comfort level, and I'm still having a great time. And we got a great card, man. Great card.
So I'm seeing this vision. I'm hearing your vision, you know, about the staying in your lane, and I just got an idea that just sounds like it would make everything come full circle. Seeing the MMA Live Burt Watson Promotions on an episode of Dana White's Looking for a Fight, where he comes out to your promotion and tries to get that main eventer called up to the UFC for a Contender Series fight.
Well, you know, as I said, it's, you know, my goal is entertainment and a platform. And that's the goal of the Contender Series and Looking for a Fight. And it's one of those things where you know, they have so many regional promotions on their boards. You know, I want to throw a dart over there someplace, see where it lands, see how it lands. And right now, I'm creating a situation. When you promote and the strength of it, you got to have 3 things in place. You got to have the right venue. You got to have some sort of television or social media or streaming, and you got to have sponsors. You got to have at least 2 of the 3. You know, so right now I'm building slowly. You know, I'm not a young man. I almost told you. I almost told you my age. You know? So I'm looking to keep it. You know, I'll be 7 years old in 3 months, baby. You know, so I'm not looking to start a fight with nobody. You know, I'm not looking to make things hard for myself. I've done it too easy thus far. I've made it too easy for everybody else to matriculate through this sport, and I'm proud of that. And you know, I announced this and decided, and I'm gonna tell you, man, the media has been unbelievable with me. I'm still a little shocked at the media that I've gotten from this. You know, I don't know. I must have done something right, baby.
Of course,
Yeah, of course, man.
doubt.
The legend. Explain to him about the well, he ain't got shades.
What's that?
So our viewers about not having shades.
Oh yeah. So anybody watching on YouTube right now, Burt's not wearing shades. It's the reflection off his computer. It makes him look like he's wearing shades. So if anybody's out there just watching,
He's not trying to big time us.
Yeah.
No. It's just like, and you know what? And I was trying to do, you know, as I coordinate an event, you know, because I handle lightings and trust and rigs and all that other stuff. I was wondering, I wish I had the kind of lighting you guys did, but you guys do this for a living, so you knew the kind of right lighting to have.
Oh yeah, we've got 2 studio lights over here. We had to brighten it up.
I know you cross paths with a lot of people. I'm pretty sure you cross paths with my man in boxing, Mr. Sam Watson. He kind of does like what you do, but it's on a whole crazy level with him and his sons.
Well, you know what? Boxing.
Yeah, it's
puts you at a crazy level. You know, but you know when you get behind the scenes in be it boxing, MMA, you know, I did in 2008. I did the Latin billboards. Somebody called me to do the Latin billboards, and I did it, man. And you know what? It's all the same thing. You know, it's just. But then, if you got a system in place, then you don't get crazy with the craziness. You know, and there's some people though that, you know, they get crazy with the craziness. Sometimes when the lights go on, some people's lights go out. You know, but it's the sport. It's the person. You got to love what you do. You got to enjoy what you do. You got to know what you're doing. What you think about, you bring about. So you got to do it at a certain level and a certain comfort level. Give everybody around you a comfort level that you not only know what you're doing, but you know how to do it.
100%. So Burt, you know, I've interviewed you before with a previous outlet I was with, and you told me a story that blew my mind, and it's actually one of my other former colleagues on there too as well. And you told us the story about how the MMA world came to have blue and red tape around their gloves. And I will never forget this story. So I would like you, if you don't mind, to kind of give us a recap of that whole story, because I remember doing that interview and I was just like, my jaw was dropped.
Well, as I said before, when you create a situation and you like what you're doing and there's no one actually coming in and tell you how to do what it is they want you to do, but they know you know what you're doing, and that was the way it was with myself and Dana and Lorenzo, you know. But that's a knock on wood. That's a blessing. That's something I got from my mom, the Marine Corps, in West Philadelphia. You know, I learned when somebody puts something in your lap, you go get it done. Yeah. You know, and you get creative with it. So, you know, when we first started in the UFC, we went on. You know, I started with them UFC 30, and I think it kind of went on, and as we were going along, I was creating things and creating different things. And I never, ever watched a fight. I never had time to watch a fight. But I would look at a big screen in front of me with a clock on the left-hand side or in the middle. That's all I ever watched was the clock, because I needed to know when to move the next guy, when to get the next guy moving. So we're doing this, and while you're doing this thing and you're coordinating, you're creating situations, you're creating how this works. Because I'm sure you guys know, like you did your countdown, you know, when you do things for radio and television, you know, you got a production schedule, man, and it's time. It's time. The way you breathe, your bathroom breaks, okay? Who gets to tie their shoes, you know, whose microphone's on, who's not on. So you got to coordinate things and think while you're going so that the next time you got a better situation than you had before. So we're sitting and the fight's going on and they introduce the guys. And so while they're introducing the guys, the referee goes in the middle. It was Big John. He says fighting. The guys, they get to fighting. And the cameramen are shooting on the guys. And one guy shoots at another guy and takes him down to the ground. So they're down on the ground and they're grappling. And all of a sudden they shoot down on the two guys. And I looked up at the screen, and all I saw was 4 pair of gloves with white tape around them. Didn't know who the hell was who. And I'm looking at that. I said, you know what? That one, who the hell's who? Yeah. And that was the shot that they gave, and it came out. And then later on, I wanted to see. Now, let me see. Was that a situation where that cameraman fell off his stool, and that was a mistake, or is that going to be consistent? And I went around again, and there it was again. They were up against the cage, arms locked in like this, and all I saw was 4 gloves and white tape around the top. That's what they would put on, white tape around the top. So at the end of that fight, I had the weekend. I called Uline, and I said to them, listen, I said, do you guys have masking tape of different colors? And they said, well, we got gray, we got green, we got red, and we got blue. So I asked them to send me a roll of the red and the blue tape, which they did. The next show, before the show, I went up to Dana and I showed Dana the 2 tapes. I said, I'm going to use this for the next fight. He just looked at me. He said, okay. I went to the guys that was and the rest of the guys sold. He's passed on now. The guy's name was Steven. He was the production manager, and I went up to him and I said, listen, man, I'm gonna throw this red and blue tape on these fighters so that you guys can tell and I can tell who's red and who's blue. He said, okay. So I went in and I also created a situation where we had cut men assigned to wrapping hands. Because these guys showed up, didn't have people to wrap their hands, didn't have tape, didn't have gauze, didn't have that stuff. And I said, you know what? I'm never going to get caught in the what if. So I ordered tape, I ordered gauze, and I asked Dana if I could hire cut men at a reduced rate, of course, to come in and just wrap their hands and make sure that these guys were done right. And he did. So they put red and they put blue tape on the guys. Guys went out there. And even the referee, Herb Dean, said, man, he said, you know what? I don't even have to look. He said, I can just see red and blue out of the corner of my eyes now. And I know who to grab or who to hold up or who to move or who to back or which way to send a guy. And I got compliments from that point on. Everybody started using red and blue tape. Boxing, MMA, and it has become a staple in the MMA world.
Yeah. I just got my bout sheet for Canelo, and they had the red corner participants and the blue corner participants on our media schedule. I got literally 15 minutes before we came on with you.
I can tell you the fact that everybody wears red and blue tape right now was, I don't want to say that I started, but I'll say I was the first one that did.
There you go. That's legendary stuff, man. We're talking about legendary stuff, and
that's a legend.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was. And you know what? It got to, and you don't pay much attention to it now, but the next time you look at a fight, just peripherally out of the side of you don't even have to look. You see that red and blue tape, you know who that is. You know what guys, and the referee, if you notice, when they're standing, they go to look for these guys and they send them, at the end of the fight, they break them, they send one to the red and one to the blue. Now they look at the glove, they can grab a guy and direct them and send them. They don't have to look at the face. Just look at the red and blue tape and send them in.
Yeah. They even say it in the pre-announcement, when Michael Buffer does his thing for the boxing, he's the champion tonight, fighting out of the red corner. And then it's even in the introductions now. I don't know about MMA. I haven't seen them. So I haven't even seen them in MMA, but I know in boxing, Jimmy Lennon Jr. and Michael Buffer, they talk about, because usually the champion's in the red corner. In the red, yeah. Well, that's usually it started. It started with the hometown guy being in the red corner. Mm-hmm. That's what it started. They tried to put most of the hometown guys in the red corner, and then it got to be a thing where they did it, and they couldn't undo it. And then when a guy came from out of town, he knew he was going to be in the blue corner. Sometimes he didn't like it, and sometimes, but then it worked out that way, and then it became a thing where it became the champion's corner, and usually the more higher profile you are, you get to come out of that red corner. We take you to another step further. When they had the Mayweather and Pacquiao negotiation, it was negotiating the contract who was going to be in some of these title versus when they have a unification, because you got two champions. It's always really who's the A side, who's the B side. So you even fit in people contracts now.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you, I'm responsible for visualizing that red and blue tape on the gloves.
Yeah,
Yes,
man.
sir.
That's
It went,
just one of those things that it made so much sense that like it was like, how did this not be a thing beforehand? And like I notice it all the time now, just because it makes things visually so much more appealing, like you said, especially when things get on the mat and when guys start going to these crazy scrambles on the mat, especially when guys look alike,
look,
like you know.
yeah, whoa, seriously, you don't know who the heck's who, but you know they from the beginning you see who's in the red and who's in the blue corner, and they introduce those guys, and you know it made it easier, and it just became a stable, you know, and that's kind of it worked in MMA, and they started doing it in boxing, and now you know it's a stable, man.
Yeah, it's crazy. So what do you think about the fact that we have MMA on the worldwide leader of sports on ESPN? Like UFC's on ESPN now. Did you think that, you know, we would reach this level? Like you've been there from, you know, like you said, almost, you know, day one in the UFC side. But
it was day one. It was day one, and I said earlier in the conversation that I saw back then that this thing, because I didn't know what MMA was. I had no idea. I know what Kung Fu was. I knew what Bruce Leroy was, you know, but I had no real idea what MMA was, you know. But as a coordinator and a consultant, I saw the way Dana White, Lorenzo Fertitta, and the other guys were working the system. I saw the people they were putting in place. I saw how they handled steps from one step to another. I saw how they didn't exactly micromanage everybody. It might be a little different now, but back then I saw they didn't. And that told me that this thing had legs, that this thing was eventually, when it got to a point, that it was going to grow. Initially, you know, I'll tell you, initially when he first came to me, and we did UFC 30. They were looking for a location. And no one, commission-wise, none of the commissions wanted to sanction MMA because they thought it was a blood sport. They had fights from Senator John McCain. They had fights from this one, from that one, who did not want to see the sport legalized. So they had a planned date and really had no place to take the fight initially because no commission sanctioned the fight. So eventually, Dana got a call from the Trump organization in Atlantic City. Yeah, I said it. In Atlantic City. And
that's facts.
They were the first ones that said, you know what, you bring it here, we'll do it. And Atlantic City was the first one that gave the hotel, gave the venue, gave the facility, and helped them with the commission. And it went from that. When they got into a casino market, I knew then that they were on their way. Because that was a hard market to get into. Because just primary boxing and Bob Arum and Don King and Butch Lewis, and Lou Duva, you know, and Lou DiBella,
He's still around.
Main events. Yeah, those were, and Cedric Kushner. Those were the only ones that got those dates. When you got those dates, you were in it. They got the date. So they moved from that to, and I said to you earlier, the three things that you need a venue, you need television, and you got to have sponsors. But they started messing around a little bit, started floating a little bit. They went from Atlantic City to Vegas to, I think it was someplace in the Midwest. I don't remember exactly where, but it started to move. And then they started and came up with this concept of the Ultimate Fighter and got a television deal on Spike TV. Mm-hmm. I knew that was the end of it. That was it. So they started on Spike TV, and then they had the Ultimate Fighter and Forrest Griffin and Stephen Bonner on Spike TV, and that shot it to another level.
Oh yeah.
So when they transitioned from Spike TV and messed around for maybe 5 or 6 years or whatever, and started a conversation with Fox. When they got that contract with Fox, that put them on the ESPN level.
Oh,
period.
Yeah, that was game changer.
All they had to do was perform and show that they could maintain and give content for the dates that they were committed. And they did that on Fox to a point of you had UFC 3 times a week, easy, because they had. I mean, it got to a point with me, bro. I went to sleep in Japan and woke up in Chicago. Went to sleep in Chicago and woke up in South Korea. Went to sleep in South Korea and woke up in Newark, New Jersey. They were just shows. I mean, I did once 3 shows in one week. 3 shows, and one was Spike, and the other was a pay-per-view, and the other was just an off card. But 3 shows in 1 week, and I knew then that it was those legs were getting tenderfoots. They signed a major contract with Fox to commit to. I think it was like a 5 or 10 year deal for content, and they delivered.
Mm-hmm.
So when they saw that they can do that, the next thing was to ESPN. They knocked on that door, and I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's close to a 10-year deal that they got with ESPN. Yeah. And you know what? And they can deliver, because MMA has gotten. I said this to a guy a while back. Guy's name is Mike Constantino. He actually had the Miller brothers, and we were talking one day, and I said to him, I said, you know what? This MMA thing is getting bigger than the UFC. He had no idea what I was talking about. Thought I was crazy that I said that. I said, but I'm gonna tell you something, man. MMA, and that's what has happened, because now the sport of MMA has become a sport. The UFC is the leader in the promotion, and it is the OG and the godfather of everything. But everybody now is doing MMA. Even Burt Watson Promotions is doing MMA. You know, at a regional level, man, you have so many. I'm telling you, I live in Philly, and you know, I grew up in Philly, and ironically, I connected with Joe Frazier, which I'm sure you guys know, and that brought me back to Philly. And Joe Frazier is all of Philly, and
him and
B-Hop. And oh yeah, man, I can give.
I just interviewed him on Tuesday. I talked to him and De La Hoya.
Is that right? Yeah. I can go back to Melvin Taylor and James Shula and Willie DeWarren Monroe. I can give you some Philly fighters. But there was a time when the city of Philadelphia had, I would say, between 25 and 30 boxing gyms in the city. And I knew that because I would bounce. And I mean, every little crack and corner, every place you turned, there was a boxing gym because it was boxing. There's probably now legitimately between 5 and 10. Everything else now is MMA. You got MMA products in one store. You got MMA training in another store. You got MMA for kids and next to it. Everything now is MMA, and it has grown, and it is still growing leaps and bounds.
100%.
Man, before I let you go, because I know we keep it 100% uncut, I want to ask you a personal question. It has nothing to do with the show. Matt probably not reflected in this. What is your take on race relations with the UFC? Because like me and Matt, forced to both be brothers, we've had different experiences with dealing with the people that we have to deal with. And like you're I won't say you're a lone wolf, but there's no other African Americans doing what you do. So how did you be able to get your foot in a system that's not set up for you to succeed?
Because I always had a comfort level. I was never put outside of my comfort level. I always worked hard. I showed up on time. I was never late. When I told you I was going to do something, I did it. And not only did I do it, I kept it, and I created another way to do it. And if you do that consistently and for real in a job, it's hard for people to not recognize that. But you got to reach out and touch people at the same time, because I learned and now I know, because I've stepped back, and I talked to George St. Pierre yesterday. Not that I'm throwing names around, but I talked to Glover and his wife this morning. You know, he called me on his victory. That's his second in a row. And, you know, George was in Paris, and we texted, and he heard about, you know, this promotion to them. But you touch people, and I believe when you touch people, they should stay touched. You should always leave that. And I believe in leaving that. And I've been fortunate enough to do that at a level where nobody had to question what I was doing, or go behind me and follow up and redo what I was doing. When they put something in my lap, it was a done deal. When they gave something to me, it was mine. And that's something that we have to learn, because we are always going to have our problems. We are always going to be facing uphill battles. It's been like that since I was 65 years ago, you know, and it's going to be like that. You know, when I was a coordinator in boxing, I was, for a long time, the only one. When I went into MMA, same thing, you know, and it's just things that have to be worked on. There is no real answer, as I'm sure you know, but it's a fight, and it's a fight you have to fight. But know that if they give it to you, you own it. If you got it, you keep it, and you master it, and you make it your own. But at the same time, you do the job that they want you to do. And you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
That's
you know exactly what I'm talking about.
That's the key right there. That's the key right there, man.
Yeah, that gives you longevity, man. You know?
100%. Burt, man, we appreciate the time coming on.
It was worth the wait.
Some legendary knowledge on us and all of our listeners. All of the listeners of the Slip and Dip podcast, man. We appreciate it. And I'm excited to see how your first show goes, man. Burt Watson Promotions, MMA Live. We rolling? June 15th?
Rolling all night long. June 15th at the Hard Rock Event Center. Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Fort Lauderdale, baby. My main event is Jose Caceres, who his claim to fame is that he's the only man that's ever beat Kamaru Usman. Kamaru Usman has lost one fight in his pro career, and Jose Caceres beat him. He's fighting Fred Moncayo, who's also lost, who's won 4 out of his last 5 fights. So I've got a pretty good collection. I've got a great matchmaker down there in South Florida, Antonio Santiago, who's doing a great job, and I'm excited. I'm getting my ass whooped, but you know, ain't nothing like an ass whoop step through a door. And you know, the one thing that I've been asked is that I'm always rolling all night long. From the time you get there till the time we leave, it's perpetual motion with me. I'm in and out of the dressing room. I walk every single fighter to the cage. I make sure every single fighter is back in the dressing room, safe and medically cleared. Now, June 15th, that's Burt Watson's Promotions. I'm supposed to have a suit on and sitting at the cage. They don't have a problem finding me, because I'm gonna be in the dressing room rolling like I usually do. Yeah. The very same thing. I'm gonna work with every fighter. I'm gonna walk every fighter out. But you know, I'm at the same time, I'm happy and I'm proud to at least get an opportunity and get a shot. When you get it, make it right, baby.
Can we get a classic Burt Watson outro? Can we get a classic Burt Watson outro?
You trying to get me to shout and scream in the middle of the night at this 9:45. You know, you know what? I tell everybody, man, it's time to go to work. And when it's time to go to work, you know what that means. That means one thing, because this is what we do and why we do it. It's your night, your fight. You need to get it right, baby. We. Yeah.